Oh, yeah. It's a happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 53. Where do we begin? We've got a great live podcast tonight. We have from the New Jersey Devils, content manager, reporter extraordinaire, Chris Wescott will be on the podcast shortly. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, all powered by Nova Product Design from Primetime Radio, and now simulcasting on the Primetime Radio Network. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, all over the internet, just for you. So, Nick, where do I begin? So I got some beef with people unrelated to Devils hockey talk. So I got some beef.
Where's the beef?
So you're wondering, where do I have beef? Aside from your cat all over the set, which actually we are a pet-friendly podcast, I have some beef with people because, today I was pretty busy, right? And I said, yeah. And I got my regularly scheduled podcast tonight at 9 p.m. And, so I'm just doing a lot of things. And a few people said, oh, so you record at 9 p.m. Like record. Like, yeah, technically we're recording this. But look, we're live. You see that? You see that streaming live in the lower third graphic? We are actually live. We don't pre-record. And people assume that we pre-record this crap. No, I shoot from the hip. So do you, Nick. We got to get some credit for that. We're not reading off of a prompter. Are you kidding me? I don't edit. I'm so lazy, I don't do any kind of edits on content. Hell no. You know what? We stream live, people. Live. Like as of now, I can actually read comments and talk to you, because that's why we go through the painstaking, production of doing things live. People don't know that, what it takes to do things live. One of the things that we do is we shoot from the hip. I mean, our production meeting is, hey, Nick, where do we begin? Hey, that's good for a podcast title. So that's how I like to start off the podcast, with a little beef. No, we do things live. We like to talk to our audience on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope. We got questions. You got answers. David Decker says, new coach? ? Okay? See, if we weren't doing a live, you see that live? I wouldn't even know. But anyway, that's my beef. People actually thought we pre-record this crap, and to be honest with you, I like doing it live. You know why? Because I don't have to do editing afterwards. What happens live stays live, right? Right, Nick?
That's absolutely not true. What happens live eventually gets archived and turned into a podcast.
Okay, whatever. So where do we begin?
You went 5 minutes without me saying a word.
Okay, I'm going in the sin bin right now.
Obviously, Sam, there's news. There's big Devils news. The Devils have started interviewing for the head coaching position. They talked to Gerard Gallant, which I think is the consensus that most fans want. We want Gerard Gallant. I am one of them. I think Gallant would be a great hire. I honestly didn't even consider the aspect that Gallant would take this job. I mean, it looks like the Devils still. I mean, whatever you think about the Devils' job, they're not a Stanley Cup contender next year. There's nothing that they can do to make that happen. There's teams like the Sharks who, probably just need some tweaks. At least next year, they have some cap troubles in the future. But there's a couple other teams, and then there's the whole Detroit factor. He used to play for Detroit, so A lot of people thought that was going to be his next destination. And I was one of them. I thought Detroit was where he was going to go. It's kind of like the Devils, except it's got the legacy of being the Red Wings. So that kind of, that original 6 kind of gives it a little more muster. And I thought I thought it was a done deal. I didn't even think he'd interview anywhere else. I thought he would just take that job. I thought Steve Yzerman would just kind of offer it to him, and that would be that. But it seems like he's doing his due diligence. There was people out there talking like he already had the job. I'm not ready to even remotely consider that. I think the Devils would offer it to him. He's a good coach. He's a really good coach. And I think the Devils would be smart to offer it to him. I know I know you have said that you like the job that Elaine Nasruddin has done. And he's done a good job in parts of the game. I think some of his statistics are alarming. So, and we've talked about that, but, he has gotten something out of this team. I don't think that the Devils should let him go anywhere else if they can avoid it, because I don't think anybody else is going to give him a head coaching job. So I think that they can keep him on staff, build him up under Gallant to be like an assistant head coach type thing. And then, maybe he gets another year of grooming and then he could get a head coaching job somewhere else. But, I think if you bring Gallant in here, you retain Nasruddin and then, kind of let him build his staff from there. I think that's the start of getting the Devils back on the road to recovery, because that's what we need. We need to recover from this season, Sam. A lot of times I felt like I've gotten beaten up by the season, but if it ends up with us having Gerard Gallant as our head coach, in the long run, maybe it was best to go through the struggles to get the reward at the end.
I've been saying that for the last 5 years, exception 1 year. but this, let's be honest here. In August of 2019, could you have predicted all of the things that happened to the New Jersey Devils after a big offseason, a gigantic offseason from June 24th to August 24th? This platform, the Let's Go Devils podcast platform, skyrocketed, just absolutely skyrocketed. People wanting to know. It all started with Jack Hughes being drafted first overall. The next day, while everybody's leaving the draft, the PK Subban trade, the celebrations in the street in the middle of the summer, that the Devils are back, and then this is what's going to make Taylor Hall resign. Remember that? And then we got the Goose. Remember the Gooseoff podcast, the breaking news here on the Let's Go Devils podcast network? And then opening night, that 4-0 lead. It's like, the glory days are back. And then it just fell apart till February when Mackenzie Blackwood, he got basically annihilated with that puck. Comes back, found his game. Last day of February, he got that one loss, but my goodness, that was Sean Burke-like. That's like Craig Billington-like, to start your career. Just that solidness. And then going into March, and the Devils were hot. And then the NHL pauses, right? So this is where we're at. Right. So right now there are a lot of questions because again, I'm just reading stuff on the internet. It's like what the NHL is going to do. What are they going to do with these conditional picks? That Tom Fitzgerald interview that we watched and reviewed, I thought maybe he had a little inside info. No, he's at the mercy of the league. And I don't think the league really knows. I think they're just basically going to flip a coin on figuring out what to do, and I don't blame them. The league's not stupid, but this is a tough situation here, right? So, I just think that right now, as everybody's following in a Facebook Live, hello there, hello Ryan, hello Gerald, hello everybody. Also, and on Periscope, we have people chiming in. How, okay, Tom Fitzgerald, he's supposed to be interviewing people. What is he going to do with his time, right? He's doing his job. He wants this job. He's vying for this job. Right now,
but does it make sense to have? Well, for one, it sounds like that the Devils are the only team that are actually been interviewing during the pause. It sounds like everybody else kind of put, no pun intended, a pause on trying to find the next head coach. But the New Jersey Devils have been proactive about everything. They've also interviewed a couple GM candidates. If you ask me, I think I've always liked Tom Fitzgerald. I thought he should have been a general manager well before this. I think he did good enough on trade deadline day under very strange circumstances where every GM in the league was probably trying to steal basically from him. And he found the teams that were just desperate enough. Maybe he could have got more for Sami Vatanen, but it seemed like his injury was worse than we thought. And we might actually get that third-round pick now. And maybe he could have gotten less conditions on the Blake Coleman. He couldn't get less conditions because the conditions were set by the JT Miller trade. So, yeah, he got a first-round pick that, the Devils are now in danger of losing, but next year it'll be unprotected, and who knows what Vancouver is going to be like next year. I know next year's draft isn't as good as this year's draft, but these are all things that I take into account. That at the time it looked like Vancouver was absolutely going to make the playoffs, so it was going to be a pick in the 20s. Plus, you get Nolan Foote, who's a really good player. I mean, he's done a good enough job, so I don't know what the Devils are doing, just kind of leaving everybody hanging when they could kind of dot their I's, cross their T's, and get a lot of this taken care of, especially the Fitzgerald side of things. We did the emergency podcast the night that Fitzgerald spoke, and I know that Chris Wescott wants to speak with us about it. So I will leave that for him. But I just to kind of give a side note, he was very candid, and that could go one of two ways, Sam. That could be a guy who's trying to show all his cards and saying, I want this, I'm willing to put all my cards on the table, or it's a guy with nothing to lose. And I just can't tell. That's the thing here, Sam, is that I can't tell where the Devils are thinking. Okay, Sam left me, so I guess I'm going to keep talking. I expected him to respond there. But, yeah, I mean, he's going to get Chris, so I'm going to keep talking to you. It's 9:15, man. It flies, guys, when I'm talking to you.
Sorry, Nick. Did you need me? I was just getting our guest on.
No. I asked you a question, and then I watched you disappear. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's fine. I got it.
Oh, what was the question?
I got Facebook Live. I was going to say, don't you think that the Devils should just kind of make the decision, or do you think it's fine to kind of do the due diligence while we're on the pause?
Let's put it this way. Don't waste time, people. That's my, just because the league is paused doesn't mean you can't do, social distancing GM interviewing, and I'm happy that something's being done, at the moment with coaches. So, yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. No, definitely. The coach thing is great news. And I think that the Devils should take advantage of that, because if they can be the first and they could jump on a guy like Gallant before anybody else gets to him, I think that that's the smartest move they can make. I've been one to say, if you don't get Gallant, because before Gallant came out, when it was Mike Babcock and when it was Peter DeBoer and a couple other guys became available, I was like, no. Laviolette was another one. I was like, no, thank you. I love of the three, I would pick Laviolette, but I'm not terribly high on any of them. because I thought that somebody great was going to become available. I personally thought that John Cooper might become available. I thought the Lightning were primed to. I thought they were primed for another early exit. I think that they're very skilled, but they were setting themselves up for a really hard matchup in the first round. And if they got through it, then they had Boston in the second. So that's a lot to ask for them to get through. And if John Cooper had another early exit with this immaculate team, wasting the primes of Steven Stamkos and wasting, now you're not going to have Braden Point on a cheaper contract anymore. I thought John Cooper could become available, but I think that, transitioning, I do think that Tom Fitzgerald with how candid he's been since he got here and how he's just been answering all the questions like you would want him to, and he's telling you not only is he telling you the things that you expect to hear from GMs and kind of the GMs speak, but he's kind of giving you some emotion and kind of laying his cards out there, and he doesn't care how that's going to look to other GMs.
Yeah. Should I do the intro?
Sure, why not?
Nick? Oh, okay. I was just waiting for your cue, and then you were looking at something. So anyway, plus your cat's running around in the back. But hey, we're a pet-friendly podcast, right?
He's chilling now.
Okay.
Batman's chilling.
All right. So tonight we have a great guest. He's from the New Jersey Devils. He's the manager of content and also reporter, and puts out great content on the app and NewJerseyDevils.com. Pleased to welcome to the State of the Fan address on the Nova Product Design Hotline, Chris Wescott. Chris, you're on with Sam and Nick. How are you, man?
Good, guys. I hope you guys are doing good and staying safe. What's the cat's name, Nick?
It's Batman. We got Batman and then Black Widow. So we got a superhero theme going.
I love it. And you're crossing both DC and Marvel. So
yeah, we don't discriminate in this household. We allow all superheroes of all types.
Awesome.
So we were just kind of talking about, obviously there was the news that came out, and then kind of transitioning that to kind of the Tom Fitzgerald talk, and kind of talking about what you guys have been doing with the content. You guys have had to get creative, and you've been doing these Zoom calls with the season ticket holders. And me and Sam did a live podcast for the Tom Fitzgerald one. And it was, I will tell you, it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to kind of be the, hey, tell us about this. And then he gives us the most generic answer that tells me nothing. But, he revealed a lot about his thought process now, his thought process going forward, what he thinks of some of the prospects. So what's it been like with Tom Fitzgerald at the helm just over the past couple of weeks?
Well, I'm a big fan of Tom. In my opinion, what it comes down to when you put someone in that GM seat, you're looking for a good front door to your organization, someone who's well-spoken, someone who's not going to embarrass you, someone that knows how to navigate the trade markets, knows how to talk to other GMs. And Fitzy's always been that kind of guy. He's always also been, a good talent evaluator behind the scenes. And he's been preparing for a shot at a GM role for quite some time. So, I don't know any inner workings about the GM search or where Tom stands. I just know that he's a good guy, a good hockey guy, good mind, and when he speaks, he means what he says. And I think you saw that on the Black and Red interview. I mean, he is just very open, honest, intelligent, and he's a lot of fun to talk to. And I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. And that's part of what we want to give people is unprecedented access. And we do those, Black and Red interviews once a week on top of the normal public media facing interviews as well. And then of course we make the Black and Red interview available publicly a little bit over a day later. So yeah, we're just going to keep doing stuff like that and try and give access and creativity when we can. And I'm glad you guys enjoyed that and did a podcast on top of that. That's pretty interesting. Content within content, kind of Inception style stuff going on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get creative right now, Chris. We got to get content however we can get it. And, I'd usually be doing player grades right now, award predictions, playoff watch lists, things like that. And right now it's just kind of a little different. So we're taking what we can get. And I know you'd be in the same position. You and the Devils media team has gotten real creative this year, and you've tried a lot of things out. And I applaud you all for that. It seems like you kind of bolstered the team a little bit this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you added a couple people. I know Catherine's new. You're obviously new, and you've been talking to us a couple times. But tell me, I mean, this is unprecedented, and the content teams are having to pull out every bag of tricks that they have ever had to pull out of. So kind of take me in the room real quick. Tell me exactly what those strategy meetings are like, and where you're kind of coming up with this creative content and how to provide entertainment for Devils fans while we're just all kind of sitting around waiting for it.
Yeah, we meet weekly to discuss content. We've got a really great group. I'm glad you noticed. We've kind of bolstered things up. We've made several new hires. We've restructured the department from top to bottom. We've brought in some talented reporters and writers and CMS producers and videographers and a video manager, and we're really trying to bolster it. We've been in kind of an experimental phase of this season and trying to see what clicks with the Devils fan base, what they like, and so this creative process kind of goes back to when hockey was still going on. But to answer your question in specific with this pause, we actually had started thinking things, okay, it's coming in the U.S., what's the worst case scenario? What could happen if the season was paused? And without any inside info whatsoever what was going on, we were monitoring the NBA and NFL press releases and trying to see what was going on. And we had to formulate plans. Season continues as is, season continues without fans, season goes on pause, whatever it may be. And we took the NBA's lead, and we were looking around, and we had actually thought, here's a perfect example, how about simulated games when we simulate the rest of the season? It's kind of interesting that the first team to announce they were going to simulate the rest of the season was the Suns in the NBA, because the NBA, as you know, paused first. And then we were like, okay, well, if the NHL hat drops next, we still want to do some e-gaming, we still want to do simulations, but how do we take it to that next level? So we decided to incorporate a full social media coverage plan, player integration, which hadn't been done before with the post-game interviews, full recap, full preview, full cut highlights, and then also on top of that, instead of just streaming and posting a Twitch link, look at what you guys are doing on your podcast. You're pushing it out on multiple platforms. We were the first team to do that as well. Instead of just dropping a link to Twitch on Twitter, we decided to push out to multiple layered platforms. So that was a huge group effort. And I mean it when I say we've got 8 to 10 people working on content on a daily basis. Every single person in the content team did something for those simulations to put those on, because we were doing them from home. We're not going into the rink to touch our TriCaster. We're working from home. So how do we stream out to multiple platforms? And trial and error, and luckily it worked, and they were actually extremely popular. I know some people were like, just give me real hockey. I don't want the simulation. I get it. But they all averaged more than 30,000 viewers. The one against the Flyers got more than 60,000, largely positive feedback. We just wanted to give the fans a sense of normalcy, and we think we achieved that.
Well, Chris, it definitely helped that the Devils won, I think, all but one of those simulations. It kind of showed that, the amount of talent that's on this team, it's, we just have to get the virtual talent to, besides allowing that one game where Schneider faced 98 shots and won, but still, making Schneider face 98 shots was just kind of mean, I got to say.
It's just funny when you do those simulations, especially that first one. We didn't want to mess with any sliders. We're like, let's just go completely normal. Let's just throw it out there, and we did. And we didn't really tweak much. We ran the simulation once. Just so happened the Devils, I think we finished 7-1. I'm not sure, but we just ran simulations and let the chips fall where they may, and we got lucky. And lots of goals, lots of highlights to be clipped. Lots of interesting storylines in our post-game interviews with the real players, and so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And with the, obviously the simulations are over because the season is, well, it was, what would have been the season is over. So, I mean, you were just like us. You were going to start in your off-season program, and I'm sure, I don't know if you had any vacations planned, but, the Devils content team obviously had a lot coming up, draft lottery, the NHL draft, you probably had some off-season stuff. So now that that's not happening, tell the fans that are listening right now, what can they expect coming up from the Devils content team?
Well, we've recently, over the last 2 weeks, kind of rolled out what is our consistent week-to-week, day-to-day plan. So you'll notice Stan Fischler wrote a historic kind of documenting of the Devils franchise history right from the beginning, and he's continuing to write them now. Those come out 3 issues a week. We do a fan bracket vote right now, the best of NJD.TV, where fans can vote, and we're actually giving away 4 jerseys throughout the weeks of this best of NJD.TV bracket. We're doing a bunch of social media activations in terms of things like Sunday Fun Day photo hunts and activities for kids that we're putting out there on NJ's channels as well. We're actually going to be bringing back some e-gaming and some simulations. What those are going to look like, I don't want to spoil those for any Devils fans watching, but maybe a little bit of an alumni twist to some of them, changing up some of how those look, bringing back Maddie Loughlin, of course, as the play-by-play voice on those. And then we just unveiled last week a weekly series called Stay-at-Home Defenseman with Ken Danico, and that's pretty funny. They're short 1 minute to 1:30 long kind of PSA, fun, levity style things with your stay-at-home defenseman, Ken, and what he's up to during the pause. And then we have a bunch of other written pieces that have been coming out. 3 Things Thursday, where we take a look back at, 3 things to know about someone's season thus far, or a prospect, and their season's obviously come to a close. And we also do an out-of-office series on Mondays, where we take a look at some Devils influencers and alumni and players and what they're up to during the pause. So, I mean, I'm trying to go over our weekly schedule for you, but we're actually adding new things every day, including regular team coverage when player media avails happen as well. And, of course, every Monday, our own podcast, the Devils Pausecast, comes out. And this Monday is Chico Resch, so a plug for that. And then the next one is Dakota Mermis. So we have players that come on that podcast as well.
So let's go to kind of you personally and just, what are you looking forward to? This season's been weird. And, I'm sure when you signed up for this, you didn't think that all of the things that happened were going to happen. So, now that you've gotten time to kind of sit back and reflect and not have, hockey's not going on, so you kind of see what's going on. What are you looking forward to now? What is Chris Wescott looking forward to?
When the pause is over and we return to what will be some sort of normal, or look forward to now, like during the weeks now?
Just when either or, what is, you could talk about, because I don't know if hockey is going to come back. So I don't want to, but if you're looking forward to hockey coming back, or if you're looking forward to some of the great content that the Devils are pushing out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm operating under that assumption that when sports do come back, and they will, it's going to be extremely emotional. As someone who's made their career in sports and would like to be working in the sports landscape until he retires, that first baseball game, that first national anthem, that first hockey game, that first football game, whatever it is, NBA, whatever it is, that moment is going to be, I think, so significant, and how people consume sports moving forward, whatever that looks like. Obviously, you see all like the rumors and guesswork on whether, it's half full arenas or full arenas or whatever it may be. I'm just looking forward to seeing how populations react to having sports back, because I feel there's going to be this sense of community unlike what we've seen recently. I think people are going to band around it in some way, and it's going to be an extremely emotional return, whenever that is. Obviously, first things first, and that's saving lives, and that's at the forefront. But come what may, I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is seeing how the sports landscape has evolved and how people kind of gather around for those events.
Yeah, so it is going to be very emotional for me too. I mean, I've been sports my whole life. This is the longest I've gone without watching sports. I'm watching the Michael Jordan documentary, like it's actually happening. It's kind of interesting. Be like, oh, I wonder if they lost that game in France. Yeah, they didn't lose that game in France, but it's things like that. You kind of just have to it's like you have to pause your disbelief for just a second. It's kind of like when people watch pro wrestling, like it's not real, but you kind of want to pretend it is so you can be surprised when somebody wins. That's kind of how I'm treating sports documentaries right now.
Yeah, I find myself watching some old games. I haven't had a chance to watch the Michael Jordan yet. I'm really looking forward to doing that. I think people are striving for that sense of normalcy in their life, and if you grow up watching sports and the seasons come with the different sport and you just kind of ride that wave, I mean, this time kind of disrupts that. It's kind of crazy. And then as someone that works in sports, and obviously then, I'm scrambling to find content without that normalcy of like, okay, well, the season ends on this date and the combine is this date and the draft lottery is this date and the draft is this date. That normalcy for my schedule is gone. And for many people, including yourselves. So it's been a whirlwind, but like I said, when sports come back, I mean, that's going to be, in my opinion, that'll be something special, unique, and I'm really interested to see how they do come back.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how sports comes back. But I want to talk about New Jersey, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about ever. It's my state. I live in Florida now, as everybody knows. But that is for employment only. I love my state of New Jersey, and looking back at kind of your, you've been a lot of places. It looks like you started out in Oklahoma. I don't know if that's where you grew up, but it looks like it's where you got your start. And you moved around to. It looks like you were in Miami for a little bit, and Chicago. I know you worked with the Blackhawks. I know you worked in Edmonton. So the stark change from Edmonton to New Jersey had to be a lot. But why don't you tell us some things about your first year in what's weirdly called the Garden State?
I love New Jersey, and I'm not blowing smoke here. I love New Jersey. For me, it feels like home. I'm actually from Rochester, New York. My grandparents actually lived in New Jersey for quite some time. I never did as a kid growing up, but for some reason, just this pace, this style, the people, it just meshes with me in a certain way. Kind of settled in right from the start. I live in Jersey City. I love it. It's a beautiful city. It's very diverse. It's got great food, great nightlife, great dive bars, a beautiful view of New York City if that's your jam. Good little stores and delis, and just the people are great, and I love it. I love my commute to Newark. I ride the PATH train, or I drive 25 minutes, and I get to, experience that. I love the food here. I love how passionate New Jerseyans, am I saying that right? New Jerseyans, love how passionate they are about food. I didn't know New Jersey bagels were a thing, but I've been taught so many things about the area and the culture and the attitude, and I'm a big fan of it. And New Jersey Devils fans have been very welcoming. They've been great, very passionate. That's also been, a great thing to witness as well, because, to be honest, before I moved here, I didn't know much about the New Jersey Devils. I knew a little bit about the history of the franchise. I knew a little bit about how passionate the fans were. But until you get here and you live it, you don't understand it. You don't get it. And I've loved this entire year. It's almost a year for me. And working for the Devils organization and HBSC has been wonderful as well. And no, I got nothing but positive things to say about Jersey. I defend Jersey too. Like now, it's kind of my thing to defend New Jersey, and I'm big about it.
So is there any places you'd like to go in Jersey, or have you found a favorite restaurant? Like, what are some of the things that you think that people who are listening right now need to try? Because Jersey has just so much eclectic things that, like, I go back every so often. I'm like, how have I never seen things in my own hometown? So, like, what are some of the things that are your favorite things so far?
Well, like my wife and I, like we stick to Jersey City a lot. We just really like our community and our area. So I kind of like to hang out around Grove Street and that area. So some of those restaurants that I really like Ani Ramen, Pizza Razza, which is, I think the New York Times did a story on a couple of years ago about being the best pizza in New York City that's not in New York City, essentially. And that place it's delicious. It's really good. We love this local little Mexican, I think it's a family-owned restaurant. They have 2 locations, but Taqueria is a great place, and I think we order from them like once a week or once every other week right now during the pause. I just discovered Wonder Bagels, which apparently is like the best bagels in this area of New Jersey. I know me saying that, you're probably going to get flooded with, no, it's this place, it's this place, it's this place. But, I've heard a little bit about them, so I got to go check them out. I haven't tried them yet, but I've heard they're really good. And there's actually a little deli that opened up nearby us, Cangiano's, which is family owned by, this Italian family. It's a rich 100-year history in New York and Brooklyn and this area, and then they moved out to Jersey City now. So I like visiting them as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
when you talk about pizza and bagels, it's always going to be a fight, right, Sam?
Yeah, there's a question I want to ask, but I'm going to refrain that because Chris has been really cool about defending Jersey. So I'm not going to ask that, pork question that we always debate about on this podcast. I don't want to put Chris in that debate because, I do
That's
have
because
the
you're
power
going to lose. He's been
I'm not
vocal.
going to lose.
He's been very vocal about which side he's on.
I try to ignore that. There is I don't want to talk about that. I shouldn't have brought it up since we were talking about
your
food.
fault.
But Chris, one of these days, once this whole thing is over, we're all back together. We got to have lunch or dinner or somewhere, outside of Newark. I'll show you some places because I'm a foodie. I mean, our listeners and our viewers can tell, when they look at me every week when I'm on this podcast. So, but I love to eat. But there is one. Have you ever been to that sushi place in the Gateway? That there's this like obscure sushi place. I go there all the time. Have you ever been there? Do you like sushi?
Yeah, I actually have. It's very, very good. I think I get their bento box every time I go there. It's very good.
Next time you go there, okay, ask for their homemade wasabi. They basically cut up the plant in the back. It's like some kind of plant that makes wasabi. It's not the green paste. Ask for that and then dip your sushi in that. It'll be great.
Hey, guys, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or anything, but I am a huge food nut. So bring it on. Suggestions, I want it. Devils fans, tweet at me. I don't care. I love to try it all. If there's something New Jersey that's close by that I absolutely have to try after this pause, I'll go take a look. I'm all about it.
All right, definitely, and I'll let you know. I'll be the guy that's constantly taking pictures of food and sending it and tagging you on it. All right.
Yeah, we'll do that lunch too. You got to take me to some authentic Jersey diner. That's something I haven't done yet. A Jersey diner, disco fries. I need to do it.
We'll do. We'll have to take you to TikTok Diner out on Route 3 or Park West, because I used to frequent there often. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Please stay safe. Hope everything is well, and we'll hope to have you back soon.
You guys too. Stay safe. All right. Stay healthy.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
That is Chris Wescott of the New Jersey Devils, manager of content, reporter extraordinaire. Boy, we got talking about food in the end there, Nick. I'm the closer of the podcast, and I got a little off track there about food, and now that's made me hungry.
I mean,
it's terrible.
I'm pretty hungry too, and I'm not gonna lie. We've been pretty bad about shopping in this wake of this. But yeah, now I really want pork roll, and it's hard to find. Publix has it sometimes here, but they can't always get it.
Yeah. Well, when I visited down in Florida, I brought some Taylor ham, if you remember. We're supposed to have
remember you bringing Taylor ham. I don't remember that at all.
Well, actually, things kind of our plans got a little, derailed there a little bit because of the pause. But right now, I think I'm going to pause because I got to get our next contestant on the game.
You do.
Unless you want me to stall and just keep on talking all night long.
No, you can get the guest, and we're going to talk because something just came out, Sam. Unless you want to, because you do have 3 minutes. So
okay.
It just came out that the NHL is talking about a 4-arena plan where they would come back and play in just 4 arenas. I'm literally looking this up as we're on the podcast, but this is from Gary Bettman. So obviously this is a good.
Is that a good source? Gary Bettman? Oh, okay.
He told Ron McLean during Canada's In Conversation program, as per Greg Wyshynski, friend of the podcast, Greg Wyshynski of ESPN, reported that they're hopeful by doing the right things in the short term that we're able to come back and hopefully complete the season on some basis that is fair and has integrity. So here's where we care, Sam. Us Devils fans, I don't know how many people around the Devils universe care about playing the last 12 games of the season or playing the last whatever games of the season. But I know what they do care about is the draft and where it's going to slot us for those conditional picks, especially those 2 first-rounders, Sam. There's conditions on the Arizona pick, and there's conditions on the Vancouver pick, and there's also conditions on a 3rd-round pick for Carolina. The reason why we care is that they do the draft before they do the season, Sam. So that's going to cause a lot of headaches for the Devils because they could lose out on all those picks. They could lose out on none of those picks. They could get them all. They could get the Arizona pick, but not the Vancouver and Carolina pick. But if they end up making the playoffs, then how do you retroactively fix that situation? So I just want to hear your thoughts on that, Sam.
Well, this is all breaking, right? That just came over the wire, you said. So they're going, let me get this straight. They're coming back. They're going to do the draft, then finish the season? Or did I hear you right?
It sounds like that's the proposal. If I read that correctly, like I said, I'm reading it while doing a podcast. So, take that for what it's worth. But it sounds like Gary Bettman's thinking about one of the options being do the draft, then start the season back up, finish it off, kind of, it looks like a June-July situation, I guess. I didn't see the exact month. I know July has been a buzzy timetable, but, it just seems like that's going to be bad for us, Sam.
Let me tell you something, and I'm going to be – that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, barring anything that I don't know about health and safety and all that comes first, obviously. But assuming that, things are going to be better, okay, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. So you're going to do the draft. I'm assuming it's going to be a virtual draft. So you do the virtual draft first, and then you finish up the season. Then what's the point of finishing up the season with these conditional picks? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm sure behind the scenes, Gary Bettman's probably sitting at home right now watching our podcast, and he's probably thinking, Sam, I want to tell you, but I can't because there's stuff behind the scenes. It doesn't make sense. It honestly, My goodness, I prefer the simulation tactic. And that,
Yeah, well, we went 7-1 in the
That's how-
simulation, so that helped.
Yeah, I prefer Chris Wescott's content team simulations because it seems like Corey Snyder is making 90+ saves. Jeez, that just makes no sense whatsoever. Why would you put a virtual draft and then play out the season? For what purpose? Are you making money? I mean, I can see if they're trying to figure out a proper, draft positioning, because honestly, if I was the owner of the New Jersey Devils, first of all, if I was the owner of the New Jersey Devils, the NHL, I'd be like the Mark Cuban of the league. I'd be screaming at them at this point. What are you doing? And I don't even care. But it's just, what are you doing? That makes no sense whatsoever. I'm hoping you're misreading it, but you're a pretty thorough guy.
I mean, that was what that's what the push said, and then and then I opened the article and I didn't get to that part of the article, so I will be candid with that. I didn't, I'm reading all this. So, and this is where it gets tricky, because it's Bleacher Report citing Greg Wyshynski, who's citing Ron McLean from this show, who's citing Gary Bettman. So we're starting to get to that point where it's kind of getting a little messy, Sam. But I mean,
yikes! That's all I have to say is yikes.
Yeah, no, this definitely
arena
says,
plan.
Okay, so it would hold the NHL draft before the season ends. So maybe it's not right before the season, maybe it's during the season. But again, that provides a problem where you don't know the exact. I mean, the Devils, one of the conditions on the Sami Vatanen trade is that they get a third-round pick if you play 70% of their playoff games. That's a third-round pick is Joey Anderson.
You know what? Here's a lesson here, and at the next board of governors or whatever, I bet you there's going to be a clause for these conditional picks next time when this thing ever happens. Like, hopefully it doesn't happen, but when there's a pandemic or something like this, too bad, so sad. But right now, I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know if Fitzgerald said this or whatever in the interview when asked about, the conditional picks, that's above my pay grade. Well, I'm going to say that's above my pay grade. But if I had it my way, I'd just run simulation games if you're going to do that. I'd rather just have them back the season at this point, not because my Devils are not likely to be in the playoffs. I'm looking for safety. And you know how horrible it's going to be if you come back too early and the thing spreads again? Again, and on top of everything else, I'm looking out for the players, employees, just like Chris Wescott or Amanda Stein, that would have to cover if they're going to cover and traveling. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't want to. I just don't think it makes sense. Now, it's easy for me to say because it's like, oh, it's not your money because it's the owner's money. It's like, you got to reconcile that. There's got to be a happy medium here, but it doesn't make sense to hold a draft and then play the rest. I would do it the other way around. I don't know. I guess there's no. I think everyone's going to be unhappy here, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to just take a break and get Dave Brown, get him on, play the game.
Take a break.
Yep.
So tonight's game is going to be fun. We're looking at the history of New Jersey Devils awards voting. So that I kind of just looked at some of the high-profile players from the past couple of years, just kind of see where they ended in voting as in some of their best years, and we kind of made a game out of it. So, hey, I'm running out of game shows to do it. So we got to make these things work. Next week we'll get back to the traditional game shows of it, though. This week I just kind of wanted. It was more of a personal thing. I wanted to dig into the awards voting. I kind of wanted to see where Travis Zajac ended in this best year for the Selke, and I wanted to see where I wanted to see where Andy Green. I thought Andy Green got a Norris vote once, and when I went on Hockey Reference, there's no reference to that. So I could have sworn in his best season he got one Norris vote, but I don't see it there. So if somebody could correct me, and maybe I was wrong, maybe he never got that vote, or if you think that something's missing, I could have sworn I read that he got a Norris vote, but I don't see it there now. So I was surprised. I thought, Andy Green had some really good seasons, and he had a really good story. And the story, as much as we hate to admit, the story is just as important as the production on the ice. Right, Sam?
Yep. Whatever you said, Nick. Sorry, I'm just concentrating on the board right here. Just doing the levels, making sure Dave is ready. Should I make the introduction, Nick? I should probably make the introduction. All right. On the Nova Product Design Hotline, we have from Pucks and Pitchforks, Dave Brown. Dave, welcome to the State of the Fan Address. Playing the game, you're playing the woo. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Great. Good. Nick's doing fine. He's on a roll today. He's got the game ready. He's all excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're doing well tonight. We're doing well, and this game's going to be fun. So what we're playing tonight is we're just going to call this the award show. Basically, I have a bunch of facts that it comes to the voting in various NHL awards when it comes to New Jersey Devils of today and yesteryear. I'm going to ask you very specific questions, most of which have a two-prong. It's either a yes or no or an either-or answer. So you can, if you have no idea, you still have the venture of guess in your arsenal. Because I know I need to give Sam that option.
Sounds good.
So what I'm going to do is I'll start with Dave. I'm going to ask.
Dress up for an award show, right? Because I'm not really dressed up for an award show, so hopefully attire is casual.
As long as you're wearing that T-shirt in your picture, I'm pretty sure that'll get you in.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll start with Dave. Dave, we'll start with Travis Zajac. The current longest tenured Devil. Once. He was a regular in the awards voting, especially in two specific awards, the Selke and the Lady Byng Award. Now, Dave, is Travis Zajac's highest vote count, was that in the Selke or was that in the Lady Byng Award?
I mean, he's always been a very good defensive forward, so I'm going to say Selke.
Sammy's got one up on you already. Selke is correct. Travis Zajac finished 6th in the Selke Award voting in 2010. The highest he's ever ended up in Lady Byng was 28th. They vote for a lot of players for Lady Byng. He ended up 28th in 2009. He was in there 4 or 5 other times. So my next question is to Sam. Sam Zach Parise, once a great Devil, had some really good years with the Minnesota Wild. Did he finish higher in Hart Trophy voting in his best year with the Devils or his best year with the Wild?
The Devils.
Sam's correct. Zach Parise's only top 5 finish in Hart Trophy voting was in 2009. The best he's done in Minnesota, 18th back in 2015.
Do you know why I know that? Do you want to know why I know that? I didn't Google. I didn't cheat. Back in 2009, I made a stupid chant in Section 208. MV Parise. MV Parise. And nobody liked it.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
And I think I forgot what eventually he placed on the voting. But anyway, that's the only reason why I know. Anyway.
He was 5th.
Go ahead.
He ended up being 5th. So, speaking of another great scoring Devil, Dave, Patrick Eliash has had some great seasons with the New Jersey Devils. Has he ever finished top 5 for Hart Trophy voting?
No.
No is correct, unfortunately. He got to 6th in his best season of 2001. But besides that, he's never really been that much higher than that. And he's never gotten higher than that. He never made the top 5. So, Dave, you take a 1-point lead again. So, Sam, I'm going to take you to your favorite place. Pre-2000s Devils hockey. Going back to the year Martin Brodeur won the Calder Trophy. Did he end up in the top 10 in Vezina Trophy voting that same year?
Wow. That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. Top 10? Back then, goaltending, it was 93-94 when he won it. So you would have to say Mike Richter was one. Dominic Hasek, but could a rookie goaltender crack the top 10? He had, 27 wins that season? Something like that, Brodeur. Did he have enough top 10? That means you got to be the top third of the league. I'm going to take a risk and say yes.
Man, you guys are killing it. Yes, he ended up 7th in Vezina voting that year. Side note, this is a plug for Pucks and Pitchforks. We wrote a piece on Martin Brodeur, comparing him to every other great goalie in history. And I found out that one year, Patrick Waugh led the league in save percentage, and his save percentage was 900. So it just kind of showed you that those late 80s NHL craziness was kind of interesting. Anyway, that's on pucksandpitchforks.com. Had to do a quick plug-in right there in the middle of the game. But we do know that Scott Stevens, Dave, this is for you. Scott Stevens has never won a Norris Trophy. How many years has Scott Stevens gotten Norris Trophy votes? I will let you guess within 2.
Okay, well, we have some Capitals years. He was really good. His 1 year with the Blues was really good. Obviously, the years with the Devils, we know he was outstanding, although his scoring touch went down a little bit when he's with the Devils. Had a long career. I'd say he's nominated quite often. So let's go with 9.
Fortunately, that is incorrect, Dave. The answer is 17 times he was nominated for the Norris Trophy.
Wow.
Never won it. Never won it.
Wow.
That's a lot of votes. He got second, I think, 3 times or something weird. They just couldn't give it to him. It's sad. One of the best of all time, never got the trophy. So, Sam, you also have to answer a numbers question just to make it even. Corey Schneider ended up 6th for the Vezina Trophy back in 2016. That same year, where did he end up in the Hart Trophy voting?
He was even a candidate for Hart Trophy that year?
I mean, that would be a really weird question for me to ask.
Yeah. I don't know. Rank 15?
Sam, I got to give it to you. He was 17th.
Wow.
So it's within 2. Oh, wow. Man. And who was he tied with? Henrik Lundqvist. Yeah. All right. Sam takes the lead. This is for everything. Dave. has Kyle Palmieri ever gotten a vote for any award in his whole career?
I would lean towards yes. Yes, final answer.
Incorrect. Kyle Palmieri has never ventured a Lady Bing, a Selkie, anything. He's never gotten a vote ever in his career, which is kind of a crime. He should definitely be getting votes.
Not even for any sort of like Man of the Year or anything with all the charitable work that he does, or that's
I mean, that would be Lady Bing, and maybe he'll get them this year because I think he's starting to get a little bit higher in the the hemisphere of NHL charitable work. So I think he will get some this year, if you had asked me. But hey, that'd be a good piece for somebody to write. Is that we need to get some Lady Bing love for Kyle Palmieri. Sam, this is your last question, but you've already won. So
I have a stupid question before you ask. Do you think he can, if they play these last 12 games in July, and Kyle Palmieri gets in a fight, would that jeopardize his chances of getting Lady Bing?
I mean, as always, you know how these voters are.
Yeah, I know. Bunch of picky voters. Anyway, go ahead.
More than
so, Sam, tell me how many times John Madden was in the top 3 of Selfie Trophy voting. Selkie. I said Selfie. I don't know why. Selkie Trophy voting.
5.
Ooh, you're close. It was 4. He won it once.
Oh.
He got 2 twice, I believe, and third once. 4 times. John Madden was in the top 3. He got to go. He would be able to go to Vegas now if it was held the same way. But Sam, you come out on top on this week.
Congrats. Good job.
But
first time taking me down, Sam.
It's okay. It happens.
Is it really? Wow. I didn't even know.
But Dave, you've had a couple really interesting pieces out there this past couple of weeks. Why don't you tell the listeners about it real quick?
Yeah, today today there was some content up on Pucks and Pitchforks. It was about the 4 best Devils, it was the Mount Rushmore of Devils forwards. So basically, the 4 most important forwards in franchise history. And once you look past Patrick Elias and even John McLean, it gets a little bit tougher after that because the Devils have had a lot of great forwards in their franchise, but they didn't always necessarily have a longevity. Guys like Kirk Muller, Pat Verbeek for like 6-7 years, and you can look at guys like Claude Lemieux. So it was hard. It was hard after Elias and McLean, but hopefully I got it right and created some interesting content out there. And now more than ever we need some stuff to debate. So my 4 players were Elias, McLean, Claude Lemieux, and Kirk Muller. So didn't want to forget about the 80s Devils too. And I was close to putting Zajac and Pat Verbeek up there too, but they just missed the cut. So yeah, that was my latest piece, and hope you all enjoyed it.
All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Next time, we'll have to see what we can do to get you that win over Sam. Win the rubber match.
Anytime, boys. Fun times as always. Take care.
Thanks, Dave. That's Dave Brown of Pucks and Pitchforks blog, taking it like a man after losing to the Woo, which, it is kind of tough to lose to me, because when you do lose to me, that's just going to put you in a big funk for a while emotionally. But cheer up, Dave. That was a good match. I was actually shocked how close I was with those answers. So, yeah. So, how do we end the Where Do We Begin podcast? We had a lot of fun.
We did. I got a plug, though, because
Oh, your feed is dropping, Nick. Your feed is dropping, Nick. I got to take over for a quick second. Yeah, Nick, I hate it when that happens towards the end of the podcast. This is what happens when you move your studio. You know, that's what happens. Yeah, I'm going to try to help you out here. All right, so my stalling has that rarely happens, actually, if you think about it. Anyway, so
it looks
my
like
stalling is over. Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to plug, I mean, last week I promised you that I was going to talk about the 5 Devils that would have been better off staying, and that is up on pucksandpitchforks.com right now. A really fun piece to write, I'm not going to lie. It was one of the more fun pieces I had all year, just because you kind of get to look back at the careers. You kind of get to play, play devil's advocate, no pun intended, and just say, hey, this is what would have happened if, like, Scott Gomez stayed with the Devils. And, you kind of look at the history of the things. Then, we also have I compared Martin Brodeur's career to the career of the 5 other best goalies of all time, which I had Lundqvist in there. That just because that's how the conversation started. I don't know if I have him in the top 5. Probably not. My thoughts on Byfuglien. You want my thoughts on Byfuglien? My thoughts on Byfuglien is he would retire before he would sign with the Devils.
Yeah, this is what I'd say. Stay away from Dustin Byfuglien. The Devils
I would sign him personally. I just think he's going to stay away from us.
Yeah, I'd say stay away from these guys. Look, I have a feeling the salary cap is going to drop. I just want to keep the core players right now. The Devils have so much leverage with being at the floor. I'll tell you what, and I'm going to end the podcast with this note. Of course, I don't have any inside information or whatever, but if it turns out that Tom Fitzgerald was one of the people that, really constructed, I know it was Ray Shero's team beforehand, but constructed this, advising of all this salary cap friendly, team friendly contracts, I think they should definitely keep Tom Fitzgerald, because right now, by being somewhat frugal here and all these trades, the Devils find themselves taking on some no fault of their own bad contracts, because if that thing called the salary cap falls, some of the rumors of 20% or whatever, that's going to put a lot of NHL teams in the bind. Again, I don't want to get in debate if it's going to happen, but I'm just saying that the Devils,
I think they'll finagle a way to make it not happen.
What's that?
They'll finagle a way to make it not drop. It's not going to drop 20%. They would never let that happen. The NBA is in a similar situation, and they're working on ways to kind of work around the collective bargaining agreement to find ways to make it work. The NHL teams don't want to work in bad faith right now, because that bad publicity spreads like wildfire. And we saw it with when the teams weren't paying their workers, and then teams ended up paying their workers. So I don't think that we have to worry about the salary cap dropping. It could stay the same, and that still puts teams in a bind because they expected it to go up about $3 million.
Yeah. Well,
but Nick, I do want to just bring up one more quick thing, Sam. It's my favorite piece that I've edited on Pucks and Pitchforks and I've been doing this for 3 years, and it's one of my favorite pieces. Mike Lucci wrote a piece about the 5 trades that almost happened. He talks about Mark Messier almost becoming a New Jersey Devil and Teemu Selanne almost becoming a New Jersey Devil. He goes into some of the old newspaper articles and what caused them to kind of fall apart. Mostly the fact that they probably got leaked and Lou Lamoriello killed them. But very interesting articles. There's one move that almost happened, and the fact that it didn't probably lost us the Stanley Cup. So go on pucksandpitchforks.com. That is up there. It's the only picture of Mark Messier you'll ever see on our site.
Great. I want to thank everybody tuning in, and also Chris Wescott and Dave Brown for joining us. Till next time, Devils fans, let's go. Devils!